Firstborns make up roughly 40% of children in most families, but when you look at positions of power, their numbers jump. Around 45–55% of CEOs, political leaders, and high-ranking professionals are firstborns. That gap is not random. It starts before any competition exists. For a period of time, the firstborn gets undivided parental attention. Studies estimate that between ages 2 and 5, firstborns receive thousands of extra hours of direct interaction compared to their younger sibling. That means more conversation, more correction, and more expectation. And expectation changes behavior. Parents are stricter with their first child. They monitor more, correct more, and set higher standards. The firstborn adapts by becoming more structured, more cautious, and more achievement-focused. On average, firstborns score slightly higher on IQ tests than later-born siblings. The difference is small, about 2 to 3 points, but consistent across studies. Researchers link this not to genetics, but to environment. There is also something called the tutor effect. When younger siblings arrive, the firstborn becomes the teacher, explaining homework, showing how things work, correcting mistakes. Teaching forces the brain to organize information clearly, which improves understanding and memory. This creates a compounding advantage. Over time, firstborns become better at planning, leading, delaying gratification. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. In early human societies, if parents died or were injured, the oldest child often had to step in, not as a helper but as a replacement. Survival depended on someone being responsible early. That pressure shaped behavior. The downside is stress. Firstborns report higher levels of anxiety and perfectionism. They are more likely to tie their self-worth to achievement. The same system that pushes them forward can also burn them out. But in structured environments, school systems, corporate hierarchies, governments, that same pressure becomes an advantage. They were trained for systems before they even understood what a system was. Middle child. Middle children are often described as overlooked, but that description misses the point. They are not ignored, they are outcompeted. The firstborn already holds the responsible role. The youngest captures attention through novelty. That leaves the middle child in a unique position. They cannot dominate, so they adapt. Middle children learn early that attention is not given, it is negotiated. They watch interactions more closely. They notice tone, timing, and reactions. Over time, this builds a different kind of intelligence. Social intelligence. Studies show that middle children tend to score higher on measures of empathy, cooperation, and perspective-taking. In workplace settings, they perform better in roles that require negotiation, conflict resolution, and team coordination. They become skilled at reading people, finding compromise, managing relationships from an evolutionary standpoint. This is critical. Early human groups were small. Conflict inside the group could be deadly. A person who could maintain peace and build alliances increased the survival chances of everyone. That role fits the middle child. There is also a push toward differentiation. Since older siblings already claim certain identities, middle children often move in a different direction. They may become more creative, more rebellious, or more socially driven. Research shows middle children are overrepresented among entrepreneurs and activists. They are more likely to take unconventional paths, not because they are reckless, but because the conventional roles were already taken. They also build broader social networks. Unlike firstborns who often rely on family structure, middle children tend to form stronger friendships outside the home. They learn early that resources inside the family are limited, so they expand outward. The trade-off is identity confusion. Middle children are more likely to report feeling in between or undefined. But that flexibility allows them to adapt faster in changing environments. They are less rigid, and in unpredictable systems, adaptability is power. Youngest child. The youngest enters a completely different environment. By the time they are born, the parents are experienced, the rules are looser, the pressure is lower, bedtimes stretch, mistakes are tolerated, risk feels less dangerous. This shapes behavior in a very specific way. Youngest children become more open to experience. They are more likely to take risks, break rules, explore new ideas. Part of this is necessity. In a household with older, more capable siblings, the youngest cannot compete directly. They are smaller, weaker, and less experienced, so they differentiate. They use humor, charm, and creativity to gain attention. These traits become reinforced over time. Studies show that youngest children score higher on openness and agreeableness. They are also more likely to enter creative fields like art, entertainment, and entrepreneurship. A disproportionate number of comedians and performers are lastborns. There is also a strategic advantage. The youngest watches older siblings make mistakes first. They learn what works and what does not without paying the same cost. This is a form of observational learning that accelerates adaptation. From an evolutionary perspective, this is valuable. Groups needed individuals willing to try new things, explore unknown areas, challenge existing methods. The youngest often fills that role. They are less tied to tradition and more willing to innovate. The downside is discipline. With fewer restrictions growing up, youngest children can struggle with consistency and long-term planning. They may rely too much on spontaneity. But in dynamic environments, startups, creative industries, rapidly changing systems, that flexibility becomes a major advantage. They are optimized for change. Only child. Only children grow up without sibling competition, but that does not mean they grow up without pressure. In many ways, the pressure is concentrated. About 20–25% of families in developed countries now have a single child, and that number is rising. In these households, all parental attention, expectation, and resources are directed at one individual. This creates a unique developmental pattern. Only children spend more time interacting with adults. They are exposed to more complex language earlier. As a result, they often develop stronger verbal skills and perform well academically. Studies show that only children match or slightly outperform firstborns in IQ and school achievement. They also become comfortable being alone. This is not isolation. It is familiarity. Only children learn to entertain themselves, solve problems independently, and rely on internal motivation rather than external competition. This leads to strengths in focused, deep work self-direction from an evolutionary standpoint. This mirrors environments where resources are limited but concentrated. The child must become highly competent because there are no backup. There is also a hybrid effect. Only children often show traits of both firstborns and youngest children. They can be responsible and structured, but also independent and creative. The trade-off comes in social learning. Siblings teach negotiation, conflict, and sharing through daily interaction. Only children often develop these skills later through peers rather than family. But once learned, they combine social ability with independence. That combination is powerful. They can work alone when needed, but also collaborate effectively when required. Twins. Twins represent about 3% of births globally, but their developmental environment is completely unique. From the moment they are born, they are not alone. They grow, learn, and experience the world alongside someone at the exact same stage of development. This creates a level of synchronization that no other sibling type experiences. Around 30–40% of twins develop a form of private communication in early childhood. This is not a full language, but a shared system of sounds and meaning. More importantly, it reflects constant interaction. Twins practice social behavior from day one. They learn sharing, cooperation. Emotional reading studies show twins score higher on measures of empathy and emotional awareness compared to singletons. They are used to interpreting another person's needs and reactions continuously. They also report lower levels of social anxiety. They have never experienced true social isolation, so interacting with others feels natural. From an evolutionary perspective, this is like having a permanent ally. In dangerous environments, cooperation increases survival. Twins are built for cooperation. The challenge is identity. When two individuals share the same age, environment, and often appearance, it can be difficult to establish individuality. Comparisons from parents, teachers, and peers can reinforce this. Twins often take longer to develop a strong sense of self. But when they do, they combine independence with one of the strongest social bonds possible. They get both individuality and connection. Gap children. When there is a large age difference, usually 5 to 7 years or more, sibling dynamics change completely. The older child spends a significant portion of their life as an only child. The younger one grows up in a household where the older sibling is more like a mentor than a competitor. This creates two distinct advantages. For the younger gap child, attention is more focused. Parents are not dividing their time between multiple young children. At the same time, they have access to an older role model who provides guidance. Research shows gap children often mature faster. They spend more time interacting with older individuals and less time in direct sibling competition. This reduces conflict and increases learning opportunity. They benefit from guidance from older siblings, more stable parental attention, reduced rivalry for the older sibling. The dynamic also changes. They take on a caretaker role, which increases responsibility and emotional development. Many report feeling a sense of purpose in helping raise their younger sibling. From an evolutionary standpoint, this resembles cooperative breeding systems, where older offspring help raise younger ones. The trade-off is shared experience. Gap siblings often do not share the same friends, schools, or life stages at the same time. Their childhoods feel separate, but later in life, when the age difference becomes less important, the relationship often becomes stronger. It shifts from hierarchy to mutual respect. The bigger pattern, all of this connects back to one principle: limited resources. Parental time, energy, and attention are finite. Each child enters the system at a different point, and that changes what is available. The brain adapts to that environment early. Firstborns optimize for structure and responsibility. Middle children optimize for relationships and adaptability. Youngest children optimize for risk and innovation. Only children optimize for independence and focus. Twins optimize for cooperation and emotional awareness. Gap children optimize for guided development and maturity. These are not random personality traits. They are strategies. Strategies shaped by thousands of years of survival in environments where family position mattered. Even though modern life has changed, the underlying patterns remain.